Okay, so let's go ahead and come on down here to the far south of Normandy. And again, I'll emphasize that I have no idea what the scope of the map is going to be. It might not even go this far south. It might go further. I don't know. Some of this stuff might be there, but just in a low detail state. But I'm just hitting everything that's within the geographic boundaries of Normandy. That's all that I'm really going for here. So let's go for some of these outlying fields around Alençon, starting right here. Now we're definitely starting to hit pay dirt down here south of Argenton. The history on this one, prepared spring 1944, and let's see here, aircraft dispersed in trees off the north and south ends of the strip, and this one's described as a small fighter strip, so this is not a complex facility at all. 12 June 44 began operations, and we actually have the unit called out here. 16 June, bombed by Allied forces, Focke-Wulf 190, damaged on the ground. 6 July 44, gaps cut in hedges to create a second strip just east of the original. So this one would have been used up until whatever point this place fell in August or September. So let me go ahead and update this one as green and move on. And we'll just slide straight east to Seine. No sign of anything there present day. Let me see what the book says. And this one's marked green, prepared in June of 44 for use as a fighter strip and operational in the beginning of July. We have notes on dimensions, and then we have a list of some units here that would have been here. So we've kind of stumbled upon just a large number so far of small-scale airfields, basically just aircraft dispersed out here onto these very, very small-scale airfields. And let's press on to the east and Haute-Rive and see if the trend continues here. And we have another dispersal field. This one is going to be active in July of 1944. No units called out, but yeah, same trend, same type that we've been seeing so far. Okay, now let's go ahead and go slightly to the east, Essay. So we have here a landing ground built in June of 44. We have no units called out, but I would be shocked if this wasn't active. It is on a larger scale than the ones we've been seeing so far, but that one is marked green. Now let's come on down here to Deauville, and it shows up as another dispersal field, prepared and probably serviceable in June of 1944. So that's going to do it for this area. Yeah, quite a bit of stuff right here. So let's just finish out Lower Normandy with the remaining 3 airfields before we get over here and start to come up on the Seine. So let's go ahead and start with Lesseau. Now the first one out here on the outskirts, it's a dummy airfield outfitted with painted runway and a fake hangar. So that's actually very interesting, but I am going to mark that one as red. Now we get to the main airfield right here, and this one, if I come back to the document, landing ground, the exact location is not determined, and it might have just been used for light communications and courier aircraft. So what I'm going to do here is just mark this one as red and move up here to the north to the last one, getting close up here to the harbor, Deauville, and we have an airfield right here that looks like it's in use as a civil airport. Now let's see what the book can tell us about this one. So, former airport used by the Luftwaffe until June of 41, mainly as a mission staging field. So we have in the notes that landing area observed to be obstructed in 42, and March of 44, landing area permanently obstructed with trenches and felled trees. So this one definitely goes into the red category. And that takes care of Lower Normandy. We're about to cross over into Upper Normandy. Now I'm back after a break before we make our final push here to the Seine and a little ways beyond. And I was refreshing myself on how the ground war went, the timelines and locations from here on in the Normandy area at least, because I'm doing this sort of off the top of my head. I'll probably overlay some maps as I edit these, but I want to be sure that I at least get the overall facts right here. But I guess this time, let me go ahead and bring up a map in real time and have a look. We've been looking at Caen, just for context. There's Falaise, there's Argenton, and we can see outlined here the date and this dashed front line. That'll be evening of 16 August. So this is how things stood on 16 August. So you got to figure from the 6th of June through the 16th of August. This is as far as the Allies got, just establishing and consolidating the beachhead. And then if we look at the second line that's depicted here, this one is going to be front line evening of 25 August. So this is the drive to the Seine. There's Paris right there. So that's 2.5 months to get to this first line and a little over a week to get to the second line. So that's the overall character of the campaign in the area that we're about to look at. So for context, we have come, as far as looking at airfields, I guess, to about there. There's Evreux that we're about to look at. So what for several months would have been fighter sweeps and supply interdiction in this area, all of a sudden, as of the 16th of August through the 25th, is going to turn into direct support of British up to the north and American down to the south troops moving in on the Seine River. So that's context for the area that we're about to look at. So let me go back to Google Earth and we'll jump straight in, and I'm going to just sort of go north to south, and we'll start at Deauville-sur-Mer. And we have a landing ground, no record of Luftwaffe unit stationed there, not listed in Allied intelligence, although one source does state that it was operational in June of 44. I was initially going green on that one. On second thought, I'll go red, although that's another one that's going to stick out. So red until proven otherwise. Now let's go ahead and back out and go east to Portmanteau. Now this one I'm going to leave red and mark it as a decoy airfield. It would have been active in 42 and 43, but was bombed extensively in 43, and it looks like what happened, they just gave up on it. And then by February, early 1944, a landing area obstructed by trenches. So at the time that we're dealing with here, if anything, this would just be up as a decoy. I'm going to leave that one red and come down to TACVIEW and see what we have here. And this was a landing ground taken over by the Germans in June of 1940, who then expanded it. And I'm seeing nothing here that would tell me this would have been active in the time frame we're dealing with, so this one is going to stay red. And let's see what's next. Let's head over here towards the Seine to Evreux. And this is just an emergency landing ground, no record found of Luftwaffe use, but listed as serviceable in June of 44, but this one does stay as red. Now we're going to pull down to the south and head down here into the Bernay area, and we have, looks like, a big complex of airfields down here, so possibly we're going to get some activity here, so let me have a look. And we'll start at Bernay Saint Martin, and I'm going to leave this one as inactive. After spring of 41, it served mainly as a dispersal field for Beaumont-les-Régets, which we're going to look at just to the east of here, so I'm going to mark this one as red and move immediately up to the north. And this one is thought to have been used as a satellite and dispersal field for Bernay Saint Martin, the one that we just looked at. And this would have been used by, it says the USAAF as ALG B-29 after July 44. Okay, I'm going to leave this one as red, and we had another one immediately to the west of that. And this is another satellite dispersal field, I'm sure, so let me have a look. Now this spot would have still been under construction in July of 44 and not yet serviceable, and we get a little bit more of the story on the Bernay Saint Martin airfield. That would have been the main airfield in this little group. And what I think happened here is all these remarks down to 11 June of 44 actually do apply to Bernay Saint Martin. They're just under this heading. And you can see that it was attacked extensively in 43 and early 44. And then the new strip, the Bernay 1 up here to the northwest, started construction in June of 44, but no units would have been present. So yeah, all this entire complex would have been bombed extensively, but not used, as far as I can tell, by the Germans in the time that we're talking about here. Okay, and do we not have one more right here? Well, so yeah, let me come on down here to the southwest and knock this one out real quick, and then move to the east, Evreux. Now this is another airstrip associated with Bernay Saint Martin. It was first identified on 25 June 44, and it was deemed serviceable, but no records of German use, so this is another one that goes red. And let me get my bearings here, and let's come slightly to the east to Figueroa. And this is a dummy airfield, although bombed repeatedly by 8th Air Force heavy bombers and 9th Air Force medium bombers, and frequently strafed and bombed by Allied fighters and fighter bombers. We have some dates here, so yeah, bombed and strafed repeatedly through 42 and 43. Okay, and I see the format here now. The dates down here don't apply to the decoy airfield, they apply to Beaumont-les-Régets itself. So yeah, everything as far as the attacks in 43 and 44 applied to the main airfield, not the decoy. Although I'm sure the decoy would have probably been hit as well. Now, operational units, and this is where, up until November of 43, this airfield would have been used. So I'm simply going to mark both of these red. They would not have been used, as far as I can tell, in the time frame we're looking at. And that's that. Although at one point, yeah, this little area right here would have been a major Luftwaffe complex. Now let's come down here to Graveyron, just out here in the middle of nowhere. So I'm not expecting much out of this one. Let me look. And satellite strip associated with these airfields, larger airfields that we just saw. History, construction, believed to have started in early June of 44, but not fully completed by late July. So this one stays red, and now we can move down here into the Evreux area. This area, let me save this one for last. Let me knock out some of the outliers here to the south and west, and then I'll work my way up here. That'll probably be time for me to want to take another break anyway. And let's come down here to Moncy and see what we can see here. And satellite strip leveling work underway in June of 44, but by 25 July 44 had been abandoned, never completed, never serviceable. So that one obviously stays as red. Now I need to come just over here to Verneuil, and then we'll work our way back up to the north. So French military landing ground 39 and 40, and momentarily used by the Germans in summer of 40. Then partially rehabilitated spring of 44, possibly as an alternate landing ground for transport aircraft. So for our purposes here, that one is most definitely going to stay red. Then we can come over here to Nonancourt. And we can green this one up. So history, under construction at the beginning of June 44, and serviceable and in use by the end of the same month. So no units called out here, but this would have been just a strip with presumably some fighters on it. So let's come up just north of that to Saint-André. Looks like we have a big airfield complex here. So let me have a look. And one of these is actually still scratched into the ground. Let me hit this one first. This is probably the main airfield. And yeah, we're definitely getting into some of the main locations here. Occupied by the Germans in June of 40, used extensively as a bomber base, including construction of concrete runways, dispersal shelters, and other infrastructure. A very active airfield right through to early July of 44. And yeah, absolutely, you can still see this is actually still in use. This piece of the concrete runway looks like another big piece of it down here, and probably like an RC aircraft airfield right there. That's kind of cool. So this would have been the main airfield for this area, and then different little satellite strips around it. So let's start with this one, Saint-André-les-Favrils. Yeah, this is just a dummy airfield associated with the main airfield. Now let me come down here to Saint-André 1. And this is a dispersal field associated with the main airfield. Under development at the beginning of June of 44 and serviceable in July. So we have the main airfield, and then we have the little satellite strip dispersal field right here that I'm going to mark as green with a dummy right in the middle. And then just slightly to the south, Marcilly-les-Campagnes. This looks like it might have been something. Usually if you see like a road going around it like that, it looks like something was there. Let me see what it says. And yeah, what looks like sort of a perimeter road gave this one away, I guess, as a fairly large airfield. Now, little information found, but it was inactive and obstructed for most of the war, and then reactivated in spring of 44. And then we have noted down here that it was bombed in June and July of 44. The 12th of June, 2 Bf-109 G6s destroyed or damaged, along with 9 KIA, 20 WIA. So this one is going to stay marked as green, and again bombed 4 July 44 by 24 B-17s. Okay, so that's that. We'll slide just to the west to Deauville, Creton. So rehabilitated in spring of 44 for use as a fighter strip and satellite of Saint-André, that airfield that we just looked at to the right. So I marked this one as green, so I would suspect there would have been some fighters dispersed there. And serviceable by late June. So yeah, I would imagine this would have been active in some way, shape, or form. So now let's go for another one out here that I saw. So let's come on up here to Conches, and we can see the main airfield here, or what I presume was the main airfield. It looks like it has been built over as possibly like an industrial type area. So old French airfield that began development by the Luftwaffe in 1941. No units based there until November of 43, but if we come down to some of the dates here, bombed extensively throughout June, July, and August. And it does call out one unit stationed there in June of 44, so I am going to mark this one as active. And then the satellite strips, if I back out here, we can see 3 of them right here in close proximity. So we have Pinchalot, dummy airfield right here. We have Conches 1 and Conches 2, both satellite strips and serviceable in June of 1944. So I'm going to mark the dummy as red and mark the satellite strips as green, although serviceable does not necessarily mean in active use, so I'm really considering a lot of these just provisional. But okay, now we get up here to Evreux. Now we can see that this is a main base of some type, and you can see just a huge complex of satellite strips all around it. So when considering, major Luftwaffe airfields in the area, really Evreux is the obvious choice. We saw the Conches, Saint Andre. These two are major airfields, but yeah, this is the main event right here at Evreux, and this is the one that is included very appropriately on the main map. And we are again going to have the option at some point to manually add additional airfields. I hope at least. So let's go ahead and look at Evreux. Let me do some reading here. So main airfield in the middle at Deauville. Dates from the 1920s when it was used for sports flying, a French airbase until June of 40, extensively developed by the Luftwaffe from late June 40, and then became a principal bomber base in northern France and remained so until 1944. Now we'll come down here and look at some of the dates, and you'll start to see here why we have all these satellite strips, all these dispersal fields, all these landing grounds. So 13 June 44, bombed by B-17s, reported 5 of its runways were totally destroyed and the 6th would not be operational for another 4 weeks. Mid-June, bombed by 61 B-24s, numerous hits. 25 June, dive bombed and strafed by P-47s, multiple BF-109s damaged, men wounded, vehicles, including a fuel truck, destroyed. And then from August, once this place does fall, used by the RAF until the end of the war, and we have a listing of operational units here. So you start to see why they would want to disperse aircraft. This is a great big, obvious target for the Allies at the time. And this one goes to green. Now looking at the satellite strips, we have Evreux up here to the just northwest slightly. Number 1, satellite strip located to the east. 2, just to the northwest. 3, and I'll have to get rid of there it is, out here to the east. Number 4, off the southeast corner. Number 5, off the southwest corner. Number 6, located to the north. And like it said, all 6 of these runways and complexes were hit extensively, but I'm going to leave all 6 of these as green, and if I can find it, there's bound to be somewhere out there. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but if I can find it, I'll throw a photo of Evreux, the entire complex, up. And then if we scoot just slightly over here to the west in the town itself, apparently, or I guess this would have probably been somewhere just on the outskirts at the time, we have Evreux St. Martin landing ground, and it looks like there's no information really available on this. I'm just going to go ahead and mark this one as red and back out and have a look and see if I missed anything to the west of the Seine. No, that's everything. So we start to see small scale airfields down here south and slightly east of Caen, and then the larger scale airfields out here in the Evreux area. And as I go here, I don't necessarily have in mind flying out of these from the Luftwaffe point of view. I'm more just trying to nail down, what access I would have enemy aircraft, if any, come in from during operations around Caen after the landings. And then if I did want to go out and in a Spitfire hit some airfields and, have aircraft parked on the airfield in appropriate places, where would those appropriate places be? So I think we're nailing down some pretty good options when it comes to that. Okay, so I am, in either case, going to take a break on my end here. I'll come back and start again, I guess, like I sort of did at the beginning of this little section, with a look at a map for context to see what happened and how quickly the Allies crossed the Seine and left Normandy. And okay, I'll come back and we'll have a look at that next. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.